People are here to talk about David Bowie.
We have not mentioned
And
the Bowie in the room.
his co-star.
Who's this? Jennifer Connelly?
His giant penis.
Oh.
I want to warn you about this one, Keith.
What are you going to warn me about?
You better play nice. There's going to be a lot of people coming for you.
Oh.
There's...
You ready? Is everybody ready for this shit show? We're talking about the Labyrinth.
Just Labyrinth. You're all ready. It's strike one.
Guys, I'm sorry. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with the fact that you've never seen this movie before.
I've never seen this movie before.
Until now.
Yes. Watched it as a 39-year-old adult.
In the year 2022.
2022.
As one should.
As it was intended.
As it was intended.
To be seen.
Yes.
Yes. Here's the thing. I bet you think you know what I'm going to say. And we've been synced up. I feel like I've said a lot over these last few episodes that we've recorded, and you're like, I knew you were going to say that. I'm a fucking genius. Blah. Right?
That's me. That's
that
me.
sounds like him.
Yeah.
Here's my hot take. I absolutely adored this film.
Wow.
And I bet you didn't think I was going to say it.
Did not.
Since I've seen it, and I've seen it maybe a week ago, I think about it like once a day. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it like pops into my mind. I sing that dance baby dance.
Yeah, dance magic.
Dance magic dance. I sing that song all the time. Like, it just, that
Great
melody
song.
just catches in my head. I think there are so many fun things about this movie that I want to talk about. I was pleasantly surprised. I was blown away with how much I did enjoy it. Is it perfect? Unfortunately, it is not. But for what it is, and I think for the intent of it, it's nearly perfect.
Yeah.
It's nearly perfect.
As like a kid's fantasy film.
Yeah.
It's pretty
With,
perfect.
Puppets in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty close to perfect.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's my hot take.
That's surprising. That's surprising.
You thought I was going to hate it.
I mean, I thought you were going to be like, yeah, I guess there was like some cool stuff. Like the way you are about most good old movies.
Well, Willow, like, I feel like you compared it to Willow.
Yeah. This was like...
Because Willow's not great. And I liked Willow as a kid. As an adult, not great.
Willow, it's funny. It's a great segue. Let's talk about Willow. No, but like, because to me, Willow and Labyrinth are never... I've never had one without the other. Because those
You
were
watched
like...
them just back to back.
Those were our two family VHSs, I'd say, like my immediate family. So we watched it all the time. Like so many people, I'm sure, in our age range. I don't know. It's like hundreds of times. Like I've just seen Labyrinth. It was just always on. We just always had Labyrinth on. We always had Willow on. So I have such a long history with this. It's like some of my earliest film memories are Labyrinth. And so I think it gives me a funny framing because I remember that my sister loved it. And I think I thought that because the girl was a protagonist, that it's a girl's movie. And so like, I was like 4. And
That's how most men think about it now, I think.
I was 4 and a raging chauvinist. It's like, I'm not watching
We
this
knew
shit.
it. We knew it from the beginning.
No, but like, so I always like, I like, there was a part of me in my little infant brain that wanted to keep it at an arm's length and be like, that's your thing. I don't even like that. That's girly, but then I loved it. You know what I mean? Like, I loved everything about that movie. And so it's super fun to rewatch, and it's just so unique and original and filled with the magic of Jim Henson, who I think is a real life hero. Like I really do.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Jim Henson guy, huge Jim Henson kid. Read his most recent biography like a year or two ago, and it just reinforced all of like like this guy was just like one of the most inspired geniuses of the last 150 years. Like,
almost doesn't get the credit he deserves, and he does get credit, but he still kind of feels
the people
like...
that know.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know that like your wide-ranging average person, I'm just like, people, there's idiots down there. Like, I don't mean it like that. I just mean, like general audiences that don't pay attention to pop culture or film history or just whatever it is. Like, oh yeah, you think guy come up with Sesame Street? Cool. But like, Jim Henson.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's
He was really...
And culturally, a bigger impact.
And so well-intentioned, too. Like, that's the thing. Like, everyone has their imperfections, but, like, he really, really cared about, like, making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And really was just, like, wanted to try everything and do everything. And no, I think Jim Henson, like, for all intents and purposes, was just, like, a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And was so original and trailblazing, and that to me is the number one thing that makes this film age so well and have such an impact on a whole generation of people, where that they're introducing it to their children. You know, I know people who have shown their young kids. It's a family thing now. It's a generational thing. Originality,
I think, is the key word. When I think about this film, and I think about Jim Henson, and I think about that time in filmmaking, it felt so refreshing to watch it now with today's lens of the recycled IP. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I thought of was, oh, this is like a book, right? Like this is a book or an old fairy tale. And to my knowledge, it's not. I looked. I could not find a source material for this. It's all original. I was like, that just on its own is just awesome. It's awesome because it's so creative and so out of the box and so different and yet so simple. Like it just works. It just really works. And I just like, I have a lust for that type of chances in filmmaking today that we will never have again. Like we will never have, in my opinion, people taking these kind of quote unquote risks. And also, just from the research that I did afterwards, another reason why you won't have people taking these risks is that this movie was not successful when it first came out. It has slowly developed this cult following that I learned post watching the film. Jim Henson was really bummed that it didn't do well because I read something that he said this was the recipe for success.
Yeah,
musical
he
comedy.
He had put a lot of himself into this.
Guest star, David Bowie, huge star, like great music, like all of it's there. This is going to work, guys.
Yeah.
And it didn't right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And that was a big hit for him.
Yes. In the biography, I remember being really sad and reading that like it really took its toll on him. And you don't want to say like contributed to his death a few years later, but like it contributed greatly to the stress in his life that might have potentially contributed to his death.
Yeah.
Premature tragic death when he was just 52 or whatever in 1990.
Shame.
Yeah. We were robbed of another 30 years of really amazing stuff. So yeah, it's all that stuff is true. I think it is an original story. I think it draws a lot of inspiration from existing things. Like I notice now more watching as an adult, like, oh, this is like Wizard of Oz. Like there are a lot of things, and it acknowledges that.
Again, there's like it's fine to homage, to pay an homage, or to reference, or to just have an inspiration from. Like that's great. Even the beginning shot of all those like fairy tales in the beginning when you come into Jennifer Connelly's room.
Yeah.
And like
she has all that
we're
stuff.
setting the tone of here that this is the world. This is kind of the things that. But that's in my opinion, that's the fine line of being well executed, well done, versus just ripping off.
Yeah, 100%.
And being hacky about it.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Absolutely. It's not just the ideas and the originality of all of the world and the characters and all that stuff, and that's all amazing. But like the practical, let's go. Like and I want to. Rewatching this again recently, it made me want to go like I wanted to make sure I said this is 1985 that this film was made, released in 86. Released in 86. Most of the special effects in this movie look better than most of the special effects you see in even the best stuff today.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Huggle, and let's take a look at the Patton Oswalt troll from the end of Eternals.
That's fair. Yeah.
And tell me that it's 40 years. 40 years of progress that we should have made. That hurts me, and I'm not trying to be funny. Like, that hurts me. Like, we should be Huggle plus 40 years. Like, what an amazing, real... There's a reason why these characters resonate. Ludo is an incredibly expressive, can look scared, can smile, can look hopeful, and now it would all be computer, and it would go in one ear and out the other, and you'd never think about it again. Yeah. And it's because they're real, and you can see they're real. Because they're there. That does something, especially to a child. Like, a child can tell. It makes me mad, it makes me sad, and I didn't do it. You should be better. You filmmakers today that we rip on. Like,
well, no, audiences should be better. I blame audiences just as much as I blame filmmakers.
Not just as much.
I do. I think there's equal parts, because if there was a revolt, if the people speak louder than the filmmakers, they follow trends. The audiences create trends. So if there was a more focus from the audience side of things, then they would follow suit. Filmmaking would follow suit, but
Well, no, but like
one feeds
if
the
you're,
other.
If you're a great artist, which I would imagine any of these like high-end filmmakers or high-profile filmmakers would consider themselves, like you can be the trendsetter. Like don't just be reactive. Like have some fucking standards. You know, like that's what I would say. Like I know, you know, like it's easy for me to say from over here.
Of course.
Like, well, if it was me, and when I get in there, I'm gonna do it. And then you know, you have no idea. You have no idea.
The pressures.
Yeah. Totally. But like, yes, would it help if audiences gave a shit too? But it's not up to the like audiences are there to see your work. So you need to make the best work you can. You need to care. Like if you're just like, well, who cares? Audiences go see this shit anyways. Like that's you. That's your fault. I blame you more. You are in control.
You have slowly convinced me that I would rather more practical effects than less. You have slowly convinced me because I was more in the beginning of this argument, more on the side of like I get it. I'll fall in line with general audiences because like we're just here to give me the references to like, and if this is how movies are being made, like I'll accept it. But then I go back and watch these types of movies or movies that have more practical stuff because that's all they have.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And I go, man, this shit is better. This shit is better. It is better, and I really have to come around
better.
to it.
And that was always my point. Was it's not just about like what I like, or it's not just about like I like it the old school way. It's like no, it does something to your brain. Huggle, Ludo, all of it is like
that is very
magic. It's movie magic.
It is. It is. That is the thing I wanted to talk about as well. One of the many things that are worth talking about in this film is midway through the film, or towards the end of the film, I had forgotten that these are puppets.
Yeah.
That's how good they were. I literally was like, Keith, these are fucking puppets. There's people working these things. Like this is, and it's done so well. I said, this must be the best puppetry I've ever seen. Like it's so good. And you talk about expressive. These puppets are so expressive and create such emotion out of literally nothing.
They give better performances than Jennifer Connelly.
They give really good performances. It's I was blown away. It's Ludo.
Yeah.
Or I keep going saying Ludo. Yeah. He was great. Like he was great. Even the little fox. Or it was a fox. The little
Sir Didymus.
Excuse us, thank you.
They're all really good, and I just enjoyed the vocal performances, and I enjoyed the physical performance. I don't know how you quantify it.
Yeah, no, I thought that too, just so like much with Huggle especially, where it's like there's a person in there that's doing acting. Like yes, the face is all animatronic and there's 5 people doing remote controls, but like there's a person in there.
A head doesn't just speak; it moves while it speaks, and the body has to have the right attitude, the right breathing, and the right stance, body position, and stuff like that.
That's acting like that, and that's what makes it better than just like a smooth computerized animation. Like no, there's a performance happening.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I guess you can make the argument for those at home who may be making the argument that that's where they have the mocap.
Oh,
suits
sometimes, sure.
That it's
sometimes
that someone is an avatar. Those people are acting. She's like in there.
Brolin doing Thanos and stuff, like the really high end stuff. Yes,
they're in there
for sure. But like Patton Oswalt,
that wasn't great.
Yeah, it's not in there.
Yeah, the original She-Hulk trailer.
Yeah,
was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal to look. It was like off-putting. Like
I haven't wathed that show, but the clips I've seen after the final version are not much better.
Yeah, it's not. The show is not worth watching, but outside of the graphics.
That's another great. Imagine if that was a real person, like they did that with makeup and computer to aid it. Like
that's what it should be.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
talked about that before.
Like you really gonna.
The computer should support. Like we should use our technologies to support the things that exist.
The real
not
stuff.
Create.
Yeah. It should not be wholly reliant on creating entirely fake frames.
We digress. We should hit that whole thing and put it at the end of this episode because that's not what people hear. People are like, "Well, I talk about the Labyrinth," and then they just talk about movie making.
Well, I'm talking about it because it's what helps makes the Labyrinth so great. People are here to talk about David Bowie.
We have not mentioned
and
the Bowie in the room.
His co-star.
Who's this? Jennifer Connelly?
His giant penis.
Oh,
his huge Mr. Bulge. I remember knowing that as a kid. Yeah, no, I've always made the joke like they should be credited separately because I just think like this movie is such a wonderful trip of like, I want to be in all the rooms where these conversations are happening, like where Jim Henson, like, and George Lucas, who was involved as a producer,
when I saw it.
Well, we got to go find David Bowie. He's on world tour. Let's see if he wants to be in this kids movie with a bunch of puppets. And he's like, yes, I'll do it. I just want a huge, massive bulge. And like,
That's your big takeaway?
yeah, I mean, it's a huge takeaway.
Literally a big takeaway.
Yeah, I'm going to keep saying it. But no, I mean, that's like, as an adult, I do remember being like, did I always notice that David Bowie is just like, here it is, guys.
I'm a fucking rock star for a reason.
Yeah. Damn fucking David Bowie. He's great. And I think it's funny that because this was one of my first film memories, and I wasn't listening to a lot of music in like I only knew him as the guy from Labyrinth. Like I knew he was a huge star, but like he was always the guy from Labyrinth until I was like
wait a second.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, he was a really impactful musician.
Yeah.
It's like he's not just Jareth, the Goblin King.
I prefer him as the Goblin.
Yeah, he's great. And these songs are great.
These songs are great. I was actually disappointed that there was only a couple.
Yeah.
It felt like I wanted more, and I typically don't want more music in musicals type thing. I wouldn't even classify this as a musical.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't either, which is interesting because he just kind of randomly has a couple songs.
A couple songs that just like pop in that aid. Like where we just watched Christmas, Nightmare Before Christmas, where that was like only music. And I go, too much, guys.
Yeah, a little too much.
And then this music was much better, in my opinion. That was like good music. I really enjoyed it.
Well, it's David Bowie.
It's fucking good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
This is legit good. And I wish there was a few more songs in it that, I don't know, I just liked it.
Yeah. And it's funny because like the most popular song I think by far is that Dance Magic Dance, Baby, Slap That Baby, Make Him Pee. Like,
I thought it was Make It Breathe.
Oh, I always thought it was Make It Pee.
I thought it was Make It
Slap
Breathe.
That Baby, Make Him Pee.
Slap that baby, make him breathe.
Make him breathe, like you slap a baby when they come out of the womb to like make them breathe.
Really?
That's what I thought. Maybe
I mean, that makes more sense. But when I was 4, I was sure it was Make Him Pee.
Make him pee.
Yeah, it's funny. And just throwing the baby around. Like that song really does come out of nowhere.
It
Like,
does.
He just like starts like breaking into it. And normally that would be like, this is stupid.
This is
but
stupid.
there's something magical that it's David Bowie.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh, this is cool.
This is fun.
This is cool.
It's 100%. So I knew nothing about this film. Nothing about the film. You said, and when I told my wife, I said, I gotta watch this movie. She goes, oh. Dude, that's the song that because she has sung that Dance Magic with the baby because we have a baby now, and she's sung it before. And she goes, that's the song. Like, oh my God, we gotta watch this. We gotta watch this. So the only thing I knew about this movie was what power? Power of the voodoo.
Power of the baby.
Voodoo. So I go into the movie thinking that this baby has powers, is doing something, is relevant to the story in some way.
No.
And a small criticism is the baby is nothing. Like the baby is almost.
The baby's a baby, Keith.
The baby, like this is going to transition to my overall criticism.
Bring it on.
You ready? You ready? Segway Kings. Here's my criticism of the film. David Bowie is the best part of the film, in my opinion. I loved every second he was on the screen. He is phenomenal. And I want to talk about him in a positive way after this is over. Because he can't sing his praises enough, in my opinion, about this film. He's so great that it was a gaping hole within the story as to what his goal is, in my opinion. I've said many times in this program, the heroes are only made by great villains. Good heroes are made by great villains. And he has the potential to be a great villain, like a great source of conflict. But where the film misses is they did no legwork, no work at all, really, to develop him and his wants, his needs, his motivation. So he just comes in to take this baby, to make the baby a goblin. But why? Solely because she asked? So he's always just waiting for people to ask to get rid of their baby brothers or babies in general? So then he can come take them and make them part of his army, like unwanted babies? Like, why is that a benefit? Why does he need more of an army? Why is this baby special? And I only say that because going into the film, I was like, oh, this baby has to be special. Because he wants this baby. This baby is important because he does voodoo or he's got some sort of power that he needs, that he's going to harvest, he's going to do. But there is no real groundwork as to why he's evil or what he's being evil about or What is his goals or wants or desires or needs? And because of that emptiness, I think there's a huge hole within the film. That's my major criticism of the story.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it, guys. I really did.
Don't patronize it.
Please, guys, please don't cancel me. I really did. But I loved it so much that I just wanted more. Like, I wanted to know more about this character because I think he was excellent.
So I think there's multiple layers there, sort of like a glass onion.
Let's go watch our Glass Onion episode. It's blowing up.
The rest of the world has. We're famous. So I think A, yes, to an extent. Yes, to an extent.
Okay.
I think B, I think it's interesting because this is sort of what you said about Queen Bathmorda in Willow.
Yeah.
So I think that there might be some sort of parallel with just like the fantasy genre and you not liking evil for the sake of evil. Like
Correct.
these people
I don't.
They're just bad guys. You can tell they're bad guys because he's surrounded by goblins and he kidnaps babies. And she is obviously an evil witch because she's evil and she's murdered.
So that's enough for you.
In certain stories, I would say.
So
in certain
this story,
genres.
it is.
Yes, it is.
You're right.
Because I think C, the most important part, while I will concede that for the sake of well-rounded film storytelling, yes, a villain with clear-cut motivations is important. I think in this instance, particularly, if the themes of the film, which I think they are very Jennifer Connelly centric, Sarah centric, and it's about a young woman, a little girl becoming a young woman and learning about herself. And this guy is really, because it's not like a literal thing. You know what I mean? Like he's not like a real person.
So it's all in her head then?
I think.
So is that a different? Because that's a different
conversation.
That's a different
But I just mean,
conversation.
like,
I still don't disagree with myself, but it does shift the conversation. I'll say.
I think it is in her head. I think it's about leaving behind your childhood imagination land, and yeah, being an adult and all that comes with that responsibility, taking care of your younger sibling, sort of like a kind of sexual awakening because there's like a certain seduction level with the David Bowie character. Yeah, we could talk
about it.
But like, so I think that it's almost not important what he's up to because that's not what it's about.
I dislike the argument that he's not. It's not about him. It is about him because heroes and villains work together. They work as a balance. It's a seesaw. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a hero without an adversary. You can't. So that's why I always feel like good heroes are made by great villains.
Yeah, but that's
There
a very
has
literal
to
like
be-
story thing that you're talking about.
But there has to be something that.
He kidnapped a baby. He kidnapped her baby brother. He's a Goblin King. He's going to turn the baby into a goblin.
I like
it's
it.
like you don't need like that much more of like a backstory or why does he want to do
I'm
that?
not saying it needs to be
know?
like. I personally would like it to be incredibly rich because of how much I enjoy the character. I want to like get to know him more. But my personal preferences aside, I still think you need more than evil for evil's sake, and that's what this film left me at. It could have been literally as simple as this baby is the key to something. I take this baby because these babies give me strength. They give me power. They get like just something where I go.
Build his army. Like
Yeah,
that's
but
something.
give me a line, give me something where it's like, yes, we need another baby for our army, and then we'll be able to take over the world. Okay.
Then it's like more about that.
something.
It's not about that. It's about it's like a very personal journey. And so he's almost just like a projection, like a fantasy. Like it doesn't matter what his very specific motives are because he only exists as she sees him.
I am so fascinated as a viewer, and maybe this is just bleeding into preferences. I personally think, like structurally, your villains need to have some sort of ethos to them, and I don't think he really does. That's my personal opinion. I can be wrong. I'm stupid. We all know. Maybe shifting into more of my preference is I love all these. I love the Labyrinth place. I want to know more about that. Where is this? What is this? Are we in a new dimension? Are we in a? It's just like right outside our house all of a sudden, and then we're just all of a sudden there. But where? Why? How? Her imagination? Like sure, but like I'm encapsulated by him and his charisma and his
Well, so
like,
is she.
Yeah, like so that's why I have a yearning for more of this, and the film doesn't really give it to me. And maybe that's my preference.
You should just go watch some old David Bowie music
It comes
videos.
from a good place. It comes from a good place because I just want more of it.
I think originally I read that character, Jareth, wasn't hardly in it at all. Like shows up at the beginning to kidnap the baby himself, and then she sees him at the end. And then when they started to talk with Bowie, it was like, well, we got to put a song or two in here. You got to show him a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's I think he did make it more of what it was originally, than what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, while we're kind of talking about it, bridging a gap further, what my favorite part of the whole film was? Is that the end of the movie, I'm just so used to these Marvel movies where they just lose
Those are
it
the only
in
movies anymore.
In the third act, where he stayed like within his character. The end of this movie is not a big lightning fight. It's not a magical fight. It's still a mind game. It's intellectual, and it's always sort of androgynous and sexy and emotional,
And he's singing.
and it's cunning, it's clever, it's like that's what his power is, his seduction, his forked tongue, his all that shit is like why he's so special.
Just stay here and we'll rule together forever. Like
I do want to say one of the greatest, one of the best lines I've ever heard in cinema history. I want to talk about that too. But fuck,
yes, that is a great line.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that's a really great line.
Fucking brilliant. Sorry, I want to talk about that too. But like I love that's who he was. He was consistent throughout. He never hurt anyone. He tricked people. He charmed people. He conned people. That's what he was.
Yeah.
And it was just refreshing to stay in character, and it didn't evolve into some fucking shit
He
show.
didn't turn into a dragon.
Yeah, it didn't turn exactly. It didn't turn into a dragon at the end. It's like, oh, you can just do this now all of a sudden. No, this is this. He's playing mental games with you the whole time, and I just loved it. I love that.
Making you question your sexuality.
yeah. Do I love him?
Or discover your sexuality, as the case may be for this young girl.
So I loved it. That was the best part of the movie. It was the end.
Yeah.
Was the end, in my opinion.
And that's never the case with
It's
any
never
movie
the case with like current movies.
Yeah.
You go like, even if you like 2 acts, you're like, this fucking third act.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
terrible.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump the shark somehow.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
They
90%
do.
of the time they do.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that line that you loved.
Oh man, if I could remember it verbatim, I hope I don't butcher it. Do you remember it?
It's something like,
Just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave.
yeah, it's so...
It's fucking brilliant.
It's really nice.
It's great because every villain is the hero in their own story. So for him to say, I'll be your slave.
And all you have to do is do everything
Do
I say.
everything I say. It still puts him as the nice one.
Yeah.
It presents him as the hero still. It still preserves him of any wrongdoing. Like, no, what I'm asking for isn't bad.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to be your slave.
Yeah.
That to me
In
is...
exchange, you just worship
You
me.
worship me in every way.
unconditionally.
Like, that nuance is fucking brilliant. I can't tell you how impressed I was with that singular line. It's brilliant, and it brilliantly constructed from top to bottom, in my opinion. It's like the
great.
perfect line.
Yeah, it is great. I turned to Monique on this recent rewatch, and I was like, that was nice.
It's,
Like, yeah,
I
that's a nice line.
loved it.
That's a great line. Yeah.
I wish I could write something that intelligent.
Yeah. I have many times.
I'm waiting for it. I'd love
Have you
to-
seen All Between Us? Jesus. Okay, so that was your big complaint.
That was my big complaint.
Do
you have any complaints?
I do.
I'd love to hear them. I love negative Nancy over here.
Well, they're pretty small. They're pretty small. Little nitpicks. I think my biggest thing is, and I think this was partially why when I was a kid, I was like, this is a girl thing, is
He's sexist.
I think Sarah sucks.
As like a character
especially
or a
at the
performance?
beginning.
You really wanted to talk to me, didn't you? Practically broke down the door.
I mean, she's a monster at the beginning.
But it's
very
so
unlikable.
over the top.
Very
It's
unlikable decisions.
I hate you. I hate you. Like just like her whole performance.
too
I hate
much.
that. I hate that.
I hate you. I hate you.
And it's just like, God damn, girl.
Yeah, not great.
Like, yeah, like no wonder your stepmom does not like you because you are awful. Like, you are a nightmare.
The only person who's ever sided with the stepmom in a children's movie of Duran, ladies and gentlemen.
No, she is just rough. Like they're really, and I can see that, it helps for the arc. Like it's supposed to portray her as a very spoiled brat.
We were worried
I
about you.
can't do anything right, can I?
Because she's naive and childish and stupid. And by the end, she's come full circle and she's gone through
that's her journey.
puberty.
It's a bit much, but she comes through her journey.
Yeah. So yeah, I always thought that she was kind of dumb. And then I remember thinking that Jennifer Connelly's performance is really bad. But then on the rewatch, I was like, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Also, she's 15.
Yeah.
And it's her first movie ever.
Yeah.
But I think she's so annoying at the beginning, so maybe that's a good thing. But I just don't think her delivery when she's being whiny is that great.
Someone save me. Someone take me away from this awful place.
As the film goes and she kind of gets some confidence and she develops into herself, I think she does pretty good. But that first 15 minutes with her is just like, this sucks.
Yeah, because it's almost like unreasonable.
Yeah.
You don't want to, like, it's almost too far. Like I remember watching, I was like, this is.
I don't know if it's writing, I don't know if it's directing, I don't know if it's performing, but whatever it is, it's too much.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and not
agree
to the
with that.
correct, not to the right amount. Because I know you want her to be bratty, but this is just like, you're taking me out of it because she's so, like, is she psychotic? Like, does she need medicine?
This is pure.
Like, this is really
a little insane.
nutty.
That I agree with.
And then little smaller nitpicks are when she falls into the hand pit, which is a really cool visual,
Yeah.
like one of a million great things.
So great. It's so great.
And they go up or down. She goes, well, I guess down.
I was
It's like,
furious at that too. I said, what do you do? You always go up. You 100% always go up.
You know what's up.
Yeah.
It's outside.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's the
and
way
you can see
want-
everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Well, I guess because I'm pointed this way, I guess I'll go
That
down.
was stupid.
She chose down.
She chose down. She chose down.
Did you understand the riddle?
No, I've never understood it. Because as soon as she goes like one layer in, I'm like, my brain's like, blah. Like, it's not for me.
Me and my wife worked it after.
Oh, that's funny.
We went through it and it makes sense. It's really difficult to understand, but now I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to explain it now.
Yeah.
Go Google it and you'll figure it out.
yeah, that's.
But they sort of just two positives equal a negative sort of.
It's probably
or
some
two
like
negatives
old. It's
equal
probably
a
some
positive.
classic philosophical.
Yeah,
exercise.
But it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
it is accurate.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's two negatives will create it's the opposite of two
But
negatives.
how'd she get it wrong then? Because she walked.
No,
through the
she
wrong
got it
door.
right. That's the thing. That's what people misconception is. She got it correct. So she entered in, but then she fell down this trap door, which was separate.
There, anyways.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Which is weird because I think it throws people off.
Yeah, it should reward her.
It should reward her
making the
because
right
that was the point. But
choice.
But the point is she didn't die
Gotcha.
because sudden death was the other.
Oh.
Right? It was like this
Behind
way.
this door is
behind this
sudden
door
death.
is sudden death, and behind this door is not death.
The
So she doesn't
oubliette.
die.
Oubliette is a great word.
It is a great word.
And it's a real word.
It's a very fun word.
Oubliette.
Oh, what does it mean? I have to start.
It means like an old cavern or cell underneath of a castle. Like it really is
Yeah.
it's part of castles.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful word. And then the other little nitpick is I always hate that when they get the Bog of Eternal Stench, which is another great
So funny.
concept.
So
what a brilliant concept for kids
For
too.
kids, yeah, it's
Because
just-
you'd be like, that's the worst thing in the world.
It's so perfect because that is what I feel like kid-centric movie used to do really well is toe that line between something that kids are gonna find fucking hysterical, like the kids are gonna love that,
Yeah.
and then I laugh too, like I go that's funny.
But also still threatening.
Yeah,
Because
and
that
also
is
has
like
a little
it's
element
funny
of-
because there's fart sounds, but it's also like I know I can imagine what that smells like. I don't want to go to school tomorrow and smell bad for the rest of my life. Like it's very relatable. It's very brilliant in that way.
Yeah.
So my problem with that scene is when Ludo calls the rocks, he's stepping on them barefoot, and they're coming out of the shit. So they're covered. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's like if you even step because they make such a big deal. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
even
yeah.
just get a toe in this stuff, you'll
yeah.
smell bad forever. And he's walking barefoot across the rocks. At least the others have shoes on, so I'll forgive that. But like that always bothered me. It's like, so Ludo smells bad forever. You've set up these stakes very specifically.
It's crazy.
No, it's not. It's not.
I get
You
what you're
watch his
saying.
bare feet.
You're right. I'm not saying you're wrong, but
It's a miss.
you're a miss.
The rock should have at least like floated or come down,
from
and so
somewhere
they're not
else.
like soaked in the shit.
Yeah, I get your point. I get
It's
your
just
point.
a little thing. It's also, I've thought it since I was a kid.
Sure, you're
'Cause
very
he
astute.
steps on it And I remember being like 5, being like, no, you've just told me that this is a problem.
I get it.
Thank you.
I get it. I don't agree, but I get it. I get what your point is.
I mean, there's not anything to agree or disagree with. It is just correct.
That's every conversation with Everett. There's nothing to agree or disagree. I am correct.
Accurate and there is inaccurate. And my point is accurate.
Sure.
What another nitpick, which is the obviously horrible one area of special effects, which is those fire dancers when they break into their song and it's like horrible green screen.
Yeah.
And I was even reading like Jim Henson hated how that turned out, but liked the song. It's like,
but the
song is worth it and these characters are fun. But which is true. That song is great.
Yeah. But they were trying to like kill her, right? Or they were trying to they were like bad people, right?
Yeah, they were threats.
I was wondering why at the end they show up and they're there.
That's
I'm like,
what
weren't they bad
Monique
guys?
said too.
Like, weren't they trying to kill her? And they're like, yeah.
I don't think they were trying to kill her. They just thought like that's how you socialize.
Like fun. That's how you.
We all pull our heads off. And because they're like, hey, how come her head don't come off? Their voices were a little, it's like, this is an interesting conversation. No, it's just like a little stereotypical. It's like, oh, so these are all black dudes. Like you can just tell these are black people in this part and they're talking like a certain way. And then there's other characters where it's like, oh, this person's.
Excuse me, stewardess, I speak jive.
Just hang loose, blood. She's gonna catch up on the rebound on the med side.
Well, no, but it's like, it's just an interesting thing to like think about because I remember Star Wars got in trouble for the prequels a while back because like they had these characters, these aliens that are very alienish, but they had like really like narrow eye visors on, and they were all voiced by like obviously Asian performers.
Yeah.
What is going on down there?
We lost the transmission, sir.
There's like a lot of that kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, well we have different races or creatures or species. We want to separate their voices, but then you end up like because it's not just like, oh, these voices all sound like black people. These voices all sound like black Americans from Brooklyn like doing a very specific accent. So then it starts to be like this kind of weird thing because then they start using like the slang of these different, and then that's like, okay, now we're getting into a different arena.
You're only allowed to throw your own head.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
This is all in 1986.
When you could do anything.
Not a concern. and perhaps should not be now, because it's not like anybody's trying to be...
Yeah, it's well-intentioned.
Yeah.
I don't think anything is accidental.
Malicious. Yeah, but I just mean like it's more noticeable now than
sure,
ever.
But everything is more noticeable now. Speaking, great segue here. Speaking,
we are killing it.
I just love the segues. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I almost did. It's almost sprayed everywhere.
It's not necessary. And speaking of also not being necessary, I like the song, but that dream sequence when she forgets, like she bites the peach and she forgets, and then she goes to the Eyes Wide Shut party.
Yeah.
The Eyes Wide Shut party.
Yeah.
And it's a very sexual or sensual type song.
Mm-hmm.
And
beautiful song.
And it's a great. I do like the song, and she looks a lot older.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of older women,
mm-hmm.
and David Bowie's being his very sexual kind of self.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, is he grooming her now at this point? Like what? Like that felt out of place in today's lens. It stuck out at me, like, because I didn't know what the point back then. Because today it's just like, oh, he's trying to fuck her. Like that's the only thing that was coming to my mind. Like, I'm gonna seduce you with my peach. You've bite my forbidden fruit. Mm-hmm. You're in my world now. This is welcome. Like now you
drugged you.
Yeah, they drugged you. You look older. Like you're aging. Like this is more like adult nature now into my world. Like that's all I kept thinking about. And I go, this is inappropriate because how old is she? 10, 12? Like how old?
16.
Still inappropriate because he's 60. Like
not
how
Jersey,
old is he?
Remember?
I mean, we discussed. Thank you, The Watcher, for telling us the do's and don'ts of New Jersey law and statutory rape. Watch the Watcher episode. But you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't. So that's how I interpret it today, and I go, that makes me a little uncomfortable. But what was the intent back then? I
mean, I think the intent back then...
I'm going to have a cookie while you...
Yeah, as I stammer. I'm going to have a cookie while you struggle.
Yeah, go ahead.
So tell me about the sexual politics of young people. I mean, I think the point is, like, I don't think you can go without it because that is, like... It is a big part of her maturation and, like, becoming
it's part of the story, like her growth with it, because she does ultimately remember. She turns the corner and... I think is now old, like more mature from it.
For sure.
Like I get the point of this, that point, but why so sexual?
Well, what's funny and interesting, and much to David Bowie's credit, who just gets cooler and cooler, is I've read, and then Monique actually told me even further that the original version had a kiss, where in that scene he kisses her, and Bowie said no, and
That's
said this
nice.
is not, which is very great foresight
Yeah,
by a
thank
rock
God.
star.
Thank-
in 1985, where
Thank God.
you might not expect to see great foresight.
You'd be like, absolutely, fuck it.
it's-
I'll fuck it.
you put in like Axl Rose.
I was just gonna say Slash.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Slash.
Put in one of the guys from Whitesnake.
Yeah.
And be like, we're gonna do a lot more than Kiss.
Yeah.
But no, so I think he called that off and scaled it back a little bit. I think it's more like, you know, it has to be a little sexual because that's part of her growing up. Like, I think that's the point, is that like she's avoiding this seduction by this seductive older man who's like offering her the world, offering her dreams, but it's all a facade because you're a princess now. You look gorgeous. You can come rule with me. All of
giving you
these
everything.
people, you know, this is your world.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point, I think. And she overpowers that. She sees through the bullshit.
Fair. Sure. I get it. I guess in hindsight, if I make that now, like maybe I give the illusion of like a more age appropriate boy. Like I'm like a puppet master, like behind.
Maybe, but then I think a point was that maybe Monique made, or maybe I read somewhere too, is that like, you know, that there's like that's kind of a part for a lot of young girls going through that period in their life. Is there for a lot of them there can be some like older men, like confusion about attraction to older people. If Jareth was a 19-year-old, it's not quite as like jarring.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, when I was little, I had crushes on older women because you just don't fully understand.
I had crushes on Jennifer Connelly in Rocketeer. Let's do the Rocketeer.
Let's do a Rocketeer
That
episode.
movie. That was my Eyes Wide Shut
That was
party.
your-
that she was going through. I remember that movie. I was being like 5, 6, sweating in the
God.
theater, being like, "What am I feeling?
What am I? What's happening?
This annoying girl from the Labyrinth is changing the way I feel about the world."
Yeah, I got a huge crush on my 3rd grade teacher. Like not age appropriate, but and I didn't probably even understand what it meant.
What was his name?
Then why would there be something wrong with that?
I didn't say there's anything wrong with it. I just
Why
asked
you
an innocent
cackling?
question.
His name was Jareth.